Are you good at drawing? Drawing. Welcome to the fArt podcast, the Eichhoff Art Podcast. I'm Alex Eichhoff, and today we're going to talk about drawing. I believe that drawing is the square root of all art. It is a crucial skill, no matter what medium you work in. Sure, you can get by creating and doing things well without drawing well. I think you can be a good creator without being a good drawer. I've seen it so many times, especially 3D artists. They don't always need to draw, but the better you are at drawing, the better you will be at anything that has to do with visual communication whatsoever. You can be a designer, a sculptor, a garment constructor, a painter. Drawing is going to help. Let's talk about it. I know this is a triggering topic for a lot of people, because if you're not an illustrator or you're not a drawer, somebody that considers themselves a drawer or just really likes drawing, you probably don't like it. It's probably something that causes fear or intimidation in your heart. Maybe not. Maybe you're indifferent. But I've talked to so many artists that loathe drawing, and it's probably just because they feel inadequate. And we'll talk about some solutions to this later in the episode. But first, I want to explain to you why I think drawing is so important for any artist, and why you should maybe consider upping your skills and investing in this technique. First, being able to sketch out a quick concept allows you to problem solve visually. Drawing is a good place to start for any art project that you're working on. Even if you're doing something that is 3D, maybe you're doing ceramics, maybe you're a potter, and that is something that is very tactile, and it involves maybe some abstract expressionism or in the moment spontaneity within the work. You don't want to have like a plan ahead of time, but still it can allow you to rough out some silhouettes. You can kind of sketch out some rough concepts, some thumbnails. If you're a painter, this is how I draw thumbnail sketches. Super crude, super simple, but it just allows you to do some problem solving really quickly. Sketch out some ideas. Nothing quite like drawing. That's why I consider it the square root of all art, because it's kind of like the starting point. No matter what medium you're working in, it is kind of always a starting point. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes you just go straight to the canvas. In fact, I love just painting and going straight to the canvas without a plan. It's great. But if you develop the skill and are proficient at drawing, it's just going to give you a much wider arsenal of tools to work with. Observational skills. Observational skills help you to better understand the world around you. Whenever you develop your observational skills and you translate it from your eyes, from what you're seeing in the world around you, your environment, you look at something and you observe it, and then you have to translate that onto 2D, onto a drawing. Through that process of drawing, it really helps you understand the shapes and the textures that you're seeing, all the form that is there, how the shapes relate to each other. And it can be frustrating if you're not good at it. Trust me, I know. But if you invest time and energy and focus into this skill set, it's just going to help you build your internal memory. And then, whenever you aren't looking at something, you can still draw it because you understand how it was constructed. My printmaking professor back in college always used to make us do this. When we would learn a new machine, like when we started working with the lithography press, for example, it's a beautiful machine. I love litho. I love running stone lithos, poly plates. It's an amazing machine. I really miss printmaking, and I wish I would have spent more time on it in university. But what he would do is he would make us sketch the machine and all the different parts of it so that we were just way more familiar. It was like an intimate and interactive study of this new machine, because it's complicated and it's expensive, and he probably didn't want us to fuck it up. So he made us draw it so that we would really understand all the different parts and how it worked together and what it looked like, so that whenever he was talking about it and explaining how it worked, then we had that kind of, personal interactive experience to draw on from that. And this is how everything works. So like if you really want to understand how faces are put together and how the different facial features connect together, observing faces, looking at them, and then taking that next step and drawing it, working on that translation, is just going to help you to understand the form way better. Drawing is good for the brain on a neurological level. When you're drawing, it kind of triggers your parasympathetic nervous system. So you have your sympathetic nervous system, and that's how you deal with, more logistical problem solving and stress. And when you're activated, your parasympathetic nervous system is a relaxed state. It's the flow state when you're not engaged in overthinking and you are simply doing or resting and digesting. Those are similar things where your body is just kind of doing things autonomously. This is great for your brain and the development of new neurons, new neurological pathways. This is healthy. So drawing can be a self-help mechanism. It can be good for your mental health. Now, obviously, this isn't as easy as it sounds. You have to overcome whatever stress that the idea of drawing might cause you. You have to get past that fear of not being adequate and not being competent with your drawing skills. But once you do, then you can kind of unleash your subconscious onto the page and just doodle away. And it's a really good way to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. And that's just good for your whole body, baby. And like I said, there's fear involved. This is true for me. I am an artist. I'm a 2D artist. I'm a painter. That's like one of the closest mediums there is to drawing other than being a straight up illustrator or designer. So I need to draw probably more than most mediums, especially 3D. But I'm still afraid of drawing. And I'm pretty decent. I can draw almost anything that I have in front of me from observation. My observation skills are pretty decent. If I have something to look at and you give me enough time and attention to do it, I can do it pretty well with a pretty high level of skill. But I'm still nervous. I still have like some perfectionism in me that makes me want to do a really good job, and so it prevents me from drawing. I should be drawing probably half of my waking hours in the day because I've devoted my life to being an artist, and I really truly believe that drawing is the square root. It's so impactful. If you're a good drawer, you can just be really good at almost anything, almost any medium. This will translate into, if you're a good drawer, you'll be a better sculptor if you're a drawer. But it's intimidating. I get it. So I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm not trying to make you feel bad if you don't like drawing and if you experience resistance. Me too. Trust me. I'm intimidated. It's not easy. It takes a lot of effort at times. You kind of have to earn every square inch of the image that you're creating when you're drawing, especially when you're doing full value structure. It's one thing to just do some doodles, just do some line work and sketching something out. But if you're trying to make like a complete image and doing like structured value, so like shading and perfect lighting and making something look realistic, that's really hard. It takes a lot of time. I can make a painting way faster than I can make a drawing because it just takes a lot of building up of shadows and form and textures, and it's just like dragging your pencil across the paper and filling in the tooth or whatever, and that can be daunting. And I'm not trying to tell you to do that because I don't even do that. I used to do colored pencil drawings all the time, and it just took so freaking long. And then I learned how to paint, and I was like, this is way better, way faster. With a paintbrush, you can be this big. I like using the 2 or 3 inch purdy brushes, house painting brushes on my paintings because you can just fucking dip and slap a whole shape on your canvas in the same amount of time that it takes you to do one line on a drawing. You have this whole shape and you just layer those bad boys up, whereas like drawing you have to like shade that whole bitch. That sucks. So I get it. There's a lot of resistance to drawing, and I'm not trying to tell you to do a complete drawing like that. I'm just saying, if anything, learn how to sketch, learn how to do concept drawings, quick sketches. Learn how to communicate visually through the technique of drawing. It's important. 2D work can be tricky because you're basically creating an illusion. This is why I like sculpting so much after having painted or drawn a lot. When you're sculpting, you just make the thing like it is. You just make the nose big and round, and you make the eye small, and you literally put a flap over it to make an eyelid. You know what I mean? When you're working with clay or whatever, you're just putting the thing there. You're doing the actual shaping with your hands in a way that makes sculpture really common sense, and I'm not going to say easy because you have to deal with physics and gravity, but you're not creating any illusions, or not as much. You're just making the thing there. Drawing is a little harder because you have to make an illusion. You have to think about how something looks from a certain perspective, and you have to manipulate the lines and the shapes, and it's all about relativity, and even just the smallest error in size and relativity can make it look completely wrong. And that's why I usually prefer painting, because I can just slap it around. It's a little bit easier. But at the same time, drawing is way more convenient than sculpting or painting. You just need a piece of paper and a pen. It doesn't have to be fancy even. It doesn't even have to be art supplies. You can draw on anything. And the good thing about drawing is there's not really a right or wrong way to do it. Yeah, there's classical training and there's proper ways to, illustrate the human body or whatever, and there's proportions or whatnot, but you don't necessarily have to pursue that endeavor. You don't necessarily have to get good at drawing things as they are in reality. You don't have to do realistic drawings to be a good drawer. This is where style comes in. So if you just develop your style, which I gotta say, style is priority numero uno. Style is maybe the most important thing in being a professional artist. If you want to stand out from other artists, and you want to be unique, which I think is really important in the world today because there's just so many artists out there, style is indispensable. I would much rather have a unique and identifiable style than to be formally or classically good at drawing anything in particular. And really, I think drawing is how you develop your style. It's through repetition, through consistency, through just understanding how you make shapes, how you carry a line. What is your line quality? How do you communicate things visually through your drawing style? Style is infinitely more important than classically trained skills. And it really just takes doing it a lot. You just gotta draw. My professor from earlier that I talked about, having us draw those machines in the class, printmaking professor, Jim Jarab is his name. Shout out Jim. That was his saying. Draw. He would always say draw, because he knew the importance of drawing. And honestly, he was one of my favorite professors because of that. And I still don't think I really took advantage of that and his expertise. And I'm still trying to work on my drawing skills. I think I have some style in my drawing for sure, but there's room for improvement. And honestly, I think that drawing is a crucial part in any artist's development. And if you're sitting here listening to this and you feel triggered and you're like, but Alex, I'm insecure about my drawing, that's a pretty good sign that that's what you need to work on then. You don't have to spend all your time drawing, but just spend a little bit of time, small increments, tangible, achievable goals in your drawing. And I think the best way to do this, the best way to improve your drawing skills is to draw every day. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot of time, 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be perfect or detailed either, right? It doesn't have to be a complete image. You don't have to make a work of art with drawing every day. Just a quick sketch, a little doodle. Get the pen flowing, get that ink running, baby. It doesn't have to be anything special. It could be a little notebook. It could be a cheap piece of paper. You just fill up a little more and more each day, but you do have to focus when you're doing it. Not necessarily in a cerebral way. Like I said, activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Don't think about it necessarily, but just give yourself the time to doodle, to draw, set that time aside, and it could be 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes. Set a timer. 1 minute of drawing each day. And I guarantee you a year from now, you're going to have improved. You're going to understand how the pen puts ink on the paper. You're going to understand line quality and how you can make lines with your hand. It's good muscle memory. It's good. It's like exercising your body and building muscles. It's a muscle, and you use those to draw. So I don't know what else to tell you. I think drawing is important. It's something that I wish I did better, and I am actively trying to get better. And you know what is something that helped me to get better at drawing? It may even be how I learned how to draw in the first place. And that's how I watch other people draw. I get on YouTube and I look at drawing. You can go to shorts, you can go to full videos, and just seeing somebody do it step by step. It's easy to look at a finished product and be like, I could never do that. That's intimidating. I wish I could draw like that. And then you judge yourself and then you don't draw, because when you draw, it doesn't look like that. And you're comparing yourself. That's easy to do. I do that. But if you watch the whole video process of them drawing, you'll see how they break it apart into tangible bite-sized steps, and that may make it just a little bit easier for you to understand how it's done. And that doesn't mean if you watch a bunch of videos you'll just get better at drawing. You still have to do it, right? But that might just help you. It might give you inspiration. And look at other people's styles too. Look at the different types of drawing styles there are. There are people that do like one-line drawings where they never lift up their pen. There are people that just do doodles, super simple, cartoony shapes. There are people that do really expressive, like scratchy drawings that are really rough, but you can kind of see an image in it. There's so many different ways to draw. So my suggestion to you is to experiment, to try drawing with different materials, see which ones you like. My favorite drawing utensils are a 6B pencil, because you can get a lot of different values with it. Super dark, but you could also go super light depending on the pressure that you put on the paper. And a Bic pen. I love those cheap, disposable Bic blue pens especially. I draw with those every single day. And yeah, watch some of my videos. I have a ton of time-lapse shorts of me just doing my daily doodles. I do about 10 to 20 minutes per day every morning. It's one of the first things I do after I wake up. I'll go sit outside for a second and just kind of meditate for a little bit, just sit in silence and be still and just kind of breathe some fresh air. And then I'll come back inside. I'll put my phone on my little light back there. You see that lamp? That is a phone mount and lamp. So my phone just sits in that little opening there. There's a clamp on it, and I put that on my desk. It never moves. I just plop my phone there, get my sketchbook. You can see those shelves under my desk there. It's got a sketchbook underneath. It's my daily sketchbook. It's just like a, 5x9? I think it's like a 5x9 sketchbook, or 5x7 maybe sketchbook. And I just put something down. I spend 10 or 20 minutes drawing something on a page. I just kind of fill the page up. It doesn't have to be super detailed, like I said, but I show up and I just do something every day. Sometimes I miss. I'm not perfect, but I try and do it every day. I say I probably do it at least 300 days of the year. And I actually just posted a sketchbook tour of the last sketchbook that I filled up over basically the last year. I finished it probably a month ago. So go check that out on my YouTube channel for inspiration if you want. And you'll see in that sketchbook, some of those drawings are pretty poor. There's some pretty cool ones in there. I'm not gonna lie, there's some cool ones that I turned into paintings, some ones that I want to turn into paintings in the future. So there's some pretty dope drawings in there, and there's some really crappy ones too. So hopefully that inspires you to draw yourself and just understand that it's a lifelong journey of drawing. I know I'm never gonna be a perfect, but I hope in 10 years I'm way more masterful than I am today. And I'm going to accomplish that goal by drawing every day. So my advice to you, get a sketchbook, get a pen, get a cheap pen. You don't have to have fancy supplies for this. In fact, if you have a cheap pen, it lowers the stakes. It makes it less pressure for you to perform and make a final perfect piece. A work of art. It can just be super simple, super casual, no pressure, just draw. And if you draw more, you'll get better. So enough talking, get to drawing. Draw, draw, draw. Draw, draw, draw. Thanks for tuning in.